Hi, all. Gene Roberts here. And this is my sixth video in the series of starting my spiritual journey. And so, if you want to know a lot about what I have already spoken about, go back and watch the first video because the first video tells you a little bit about starting the YouTube channel and the series that I'm continuing with is, my spiritual journey. And I think this is the best time of year for us to actually, do some reflection on who we are and what we want and all the things. And so I stopped at being at the ashram and walking around for 4 days. So before getting to the ashram, just to recap a little bit, I had just recently read Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. And that book was almost a reflection of my life. I wasn't yet divorced, but obviously I was in some form of a breakdown in my life. I know that I was in a breakdown. I was overworked. I was overtired. At the time, I think I was doing about 3 or 4 jobs. We had not too long ago moved into a home, so we were rebuilding that and trying to build a life together. But also, I was already in my 40s and I was really seeking something. So, after reading Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Eat, Pray, Love, I mentioned that I went and searched on Google for an ashram because I was like, an ashram, I have to go. Sometimes I'm a bit of a follower, and that means that. But what I've learned about myself, even being a follower, is that I follow the right things. I listen to um, the intuition that I get from the books that I've read and the people that I've listened to and all the work that I have done. At the time I didn't do and too much work on the spiritual path that I am on. So I packed up, went to the ashram, and I got to this ashram here in Canada, which is 6 hours away from where I live. I was living in Banff, Alberta at the time, and the ashram is right there around Kootenay Bay, in BC. So I got to the ashram, and for the first 4 days, the first 3 days, the question that I asked myself every single day was, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Because at the time I had no idea, not a clue. And as mentioned, the ashram grounds is just a beautiful, beautiful, amazing place overlooking, the Kootenay Lake. And they have this beautiful temple that sits right above the lake, and you get to go to satsang and sing and chant. And believe it or not, chanting. If you want to get into meditation, like really get into deep meditation, and but you have a chattering mind, they call it the monkey mind, but you have a mind that is on rest, and when you sit down to meditate you just jump up because you cannot meditate. I recommend chanting. I recommend something different. And chanting, the first time I sat inside of the temple and listened to the chant, I think I wept the whole night. Now, on the fourth day of this question, what do I want? I got the answer. I totally got the answer. And what do I want? was to know who I am. You know, I wanted to know who I am. And I know, for me at the time, in the moment, it was like a spiritual download. And it was just so innately profound for me. you know I want to know who I am. Have you asked yourself this question? I wanted to know who I am in this world, who I am. And anyway, I remember when I got the answer, I was just running around the ashram so excited. Oh my God, I want to know who I am. And I remember going to the bookstore because they have this beautiful little spiritual bookstore where you can buy all books on spirituality. And one of the Swami was there, and I was so excited. I said, "Oh my God, I got the answer. I got the answer. I want to know who I am." And she said, um, you are coming back." And I said, "Oh my God, how did you know that? How did you know that I'm coming back?" I thought God told her that I was coming back. No, she knows I was coming back because I was so excited and I bought the book, and I knew that I wanted to be there. So, oh my God, when you go to a spiritual community, I tell you, you really have to, yeah, you really are in a different space. It's like the rest of the world is on pause and um, you're inside of this space that is really sacred and really held, and everything everyone say, you think, is something, a mantra from the heavens, which it's just ridiculous. So anyway, that was January of 2010. And when I got back home, well, I bought this book called The Kundalini for the West, because Swami Radha wrote a book on Kundalini. And when I got back home, I decided to actually go back to the ashram for 2 weeks in the middle of July of 2010. Please note, I'm not going to edit. This is, I'm not editing. So, yeah. So I went back to the ashram for 2 weeks to do a yoga course, and in those 2 weeks I knew that I found my place. I knew that I found where I was going to spend a lot a lot of time in my life. And believe you me, I did. And after the 2 weeks, I booked for the yoga development program that the ashram provide every year, that starts around January 8th and goes right up till the middle of April. And I came home and I tell my husband that I'm going back to this ashram January of 2011 so that I can find myself, because I wanted to know who I was, and it was only natural that I go and find myself, right? Um, and so January of 2011, I packed up and my husband took me to the ashram. Believe me, he was quite a supportive human being. He wanted to support the things that I do, my own growth. The sad news is we didn't grow the same, because I really had taken on the spirituality like it was my life. I take on this process to dig deep and find out who I am like it was my life. And believe it or not, that program at the ashram changed every cell, every cell in my body. It changed my soul. It changed my outlook. It changed the way I look. It changed the way I show up in life. Um, the program was so profound because for 7 days a week, you are up from 6 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. at night. You are in process. And the program, I think, in a way, you get exhausted so that you can tell the truth. We did yoga twice a day. 2 hours in the morning time, we are doing yoga. We do a lot of what they call it. We did a lot of hatha yoga and hidden language yoga. And hidden language is one of those, it's a yoga that actually gets you to see where you are in life, you know? And I have gotten some real revelation from that program. I recommend it. You do have to give up your life for 4 months, literally, and go to the ashram. And when you get there, the agreement is that it's almost like you sign a contract, and the agreement is that you cannot leave. You're there for the 4 months. And if you leave, you cannot come back. And so you are immersed in this, inside of this cohort, and you are immersed in that, getting to know who you are as a person in the world. And in my next video, I'm going to share I'm going to share a few things I learned at the ashram for sure. Um, because it is a lot to unpack. And so I'm going to share in my next video what I learned from what I learned from that process, and that deep dive into my heart and into my soul. It was quite a revelation and a revolution. It's like a revolution of your inner wall. You know, it's like a change. I remember when I returned, my husband, my ex at the time, he said to me that him and his friends believed that I was in a cult. And if it means, you know, if being in a cult mean that people change your mind and your mindset, then yes. Yeah, I am happy to tell you that I was, and I recommend it. I recommend it for so many of us out in this world. So hopefully you continue following me. Please like and subscribe this video, and subscribe on my YouTube channel. Um, it seems like, yeah, anyways, like and subscribe and share. And as I continue this journey to spirituality, this journey of healing, especially all my traumas, my old traumas and dramas, yeah, continue following me, and hopefully we will see you on the next video.